Welcome to our video on exponents. And first we have a little challenge for you. We have a word scramble, and I'd like to see if you could figure out what these three words are. And they go with exponent blank. So you can freeze the video at this point, and good luck. Welcome to our video on exponent properties or rules. First of all, we'd like to just kind of go over some of those basics right now. So one would be the product of powers. So if we have a to the m times a to the n, the product of powers, the answer would, we add the two when we multiply these terms. So a to the m times a to the n is a to the m plus n. Or an example of that would be, let's say we have 4 to the third times 4 to the sixth. So in that case we would add the exponents of these two. So we'd have 4 to the 3 plus 6, which is 4 to the ninth. That's the product of powers. Another thing would be the power of a power. Power of an exponent. So if we had a to the m, and we were taking all that to the power of n. Okay, unlike here where we multiplied these two terms, here we're taking the power of a term. So here we end up with a to the m times n instead of adding it like we did up here. So when you take a term to an exponential power, in that case you're multiplying. So an example of that could be like if we had 8 to the third power, and then if we took that times an exponent to the fourth. So in that case we would have the 8 to the third, we'd take 8 and we'd take this times 4, 3 times 4. And that would give us 8 to the 12th. Okay, so do you see the difference in these two? One, we're multiplying two terms times each other, and they both have an exponent, so we add the exponents. The other example, we have a term, and we're taking it to an exponential power, a to the m to the nth power. And in that case, we multiply. And here's an example of that. Okay, so now let's erase that. We've got a few more basic rules of exponents we'd like to go over. We have what's called the power of products. So here if we have a times n, let's say a times b. A times b, and we'll take that to the m. So in this case we're multiplying two numbers times each other, and then we're taking it to a power. So that would be the same as a to the m times b to the m. A to the m times, they're two different numbers. The examples before we used like 4 to the third times 4 to the second. In this case we have two different numbers. And since they're different, we can put the m outside and we can put these within parentheses. So this is when we have the two terms multiplied times each other and then to a power. Or if you look at it from the other side, we have two different numbers with the same exponent. And so the way we treat those is we can multiply these two, and then that same exponent is on the outside. Okay, now we want to talk about the quotient of exponents. Quotient of powers. When I say powers, I'm referring to exponents. Alright, so in this case, if we had a to the m over a to the n, so you notice we have this same number in both cases, but a different exponent. What we do is, when we're dividing by this, we're subtracting the exponent. So we end up with a to the m minus n. And if we use a number example for that, we could take 6 to the 8th divide by 6 to the 2nd. And we would end up with 6 to the, we subtract the bottom exponent from the top, 6 to the 8 minus 2, which is 6 to the 6th. So that's the quotient of powers. Now we've got a little bit further to go. A few more rules we want to lay down. If this seems a little quick for you, of course you can pause the video and go back and look at this. Alright, another thing we want to talk about is if an exponent is 0, a to the 0, then what does that equal? A to the 0 would be 1. So we can take any example of that. Well, 4 to the 0 is 1. 2 to the 0 is 1. Anything to the 0 power is 1. Okay, last we want to talk about negative exponents. So if we have a to the minus m, whenever we have a negative exponent, we can actually put this whole term in a denominator and then use the positive exponent. So a to the minus m would be 1 over a to the positive m. If I take an example of that, well, I guess we can pick virtually anything, so we'll use a to the minus 2. And actually, let's change the a. Let's call it 4 to the minus 2. So that would be the same as 1 over 4 to the positive 2. And of course, 4 squared is 16. So we'd end up with 1/16. Okay, these are some basic rules when we're dealing with exponents.